Guys, welcome to the channel. I know you guys are just joining in.
Yep, welcome.
This is Touchdown Labs times Akoye Media. It's our first episode. We're
Mhm.
having a little bit of technical difficulty things, but we're gonna
A
make
little bit.
things right. All right, this is the first episode. Don't worry, we got to work out a couple kinks and whatnot here. We're gonna make things right. If anything, I'm gonna upload this to YouTube later. So whoever can't get this live, don't worry. We're gonna make sure we get this to you guys. But yo, Koye, I'm excited, man. This is a journey. This is a journey that we're gonna start one episode a week, bro. We're
Yeah.
gonna get into it with some NFL content. I know Okoye is a pro when it comes to boxing, so we'll get
hmm
into that as well. This guy's always covering boxing every single week. You can check out his Twitter for that. And honestly, guys, we're here to bring you what the fans want. And what the fans want are two guys who are doing their research and they're sitting here and they're spitting real facts. And that's what we're going to be spitting today. We're going to go over a ton of things. Today's first episode, obviously, we'll introduce ourselves. We'll get into a little bit of Cowboys talk with their coaching changes. I know Okoye has a lot to talk about when it comes to us breaking down what happened with the Super Bowl, the Eagles' aftermath, what they've left on the
I'm
division and
still
the
depressed.
NFC. We're both depressed, man. I can't even think about it. But yo, I gotta give them their flowers. You know what I mean? I hate the Eagles, and like the Eagles are a bunch of bums. But one thing I can say is that they built that team to be a contender, and they built that team to pick 32nd this year and probably still get somebody who's going to be an impact player so they
hmm
don't have a Super Bowl hangover.
Right.
Ton of stuff to get into, but yo, let's start with that. What do you think about the Eagles right now, and what do you think about the Chiefs and where the NFC stands and what's going on there?
I mean, number one, I think that it speaks to preparation and how well they put their team together because even I had my doubts about their team in general, especially when they added Saquon. I looked at Saquon as a non-threat, to be honest. Now, I'm not going to woo when I say that. But the reason I say that is because he never really killed the Cowboys consistently. He always got hurt when he played us and so on. So it shows that offensive line with the addition of a talent like a Saquon, the running back position is back with a vengeance. When you look at what Saquon did this season, when you look at what Henry did this season, there's a lot that goes into that. And I think the Cowboys can definitely borrow some of that when it comes. And we're not trying to be the Eagles, but they definitely can borrow some of that when it comes to paying attention to the trenches. The Eagles won a Super Bowl not with great quarterback play, not with great wide receiver play, but with
Nobody's
an
gonna like you
offensive.
saying that, man.
Right. I mean, it's not that I'm not trying to take a dig when I say that. So,
But yo,
you
let's
know,
just be honest, right? Like Jalen Hurts wasn't out here throwing the ball 45 times a game. That's not how they're winning. AJ Brown, some could say he had a down season, just barely got to 1K yards, but they're
right.
able to be efficient, right? And they are doing this with a free agent pickup, Saquon Barkley, who the Giants are dumping, and they don't even believe in him anymore, right?
Mhm.
Philly's like, yo, let me pick this guy up. He's from Penn
Right.
State. He's from our backyard. We're gonna give this kid a chance.
Right.
Saquon Barkley turned it around this year for them, and honestly, I feel like Kellen Moore almost even lost them that Rams game, bro, where his play calling just in the fourth quarter, he's not running the ball with Saquon, not giving him chances, and they're
Right.
still able to get that through. So the Eagles are going to be tough, man. They're going to be tough for a couple of years to come, and they built their squad the right way.
Yeah, from the inside out. So trenches out is where you build your team. And when you look at their draft picks, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, so on, um, there was an emphasis based on or set around, the trenches. And on the offensive side of the ball, their offensive line is not only humongous but talented all the way through. So the Eagles definitely understand what the blueprint is for building a strong team. I'll give them that. I'll give them that when it comes. You win the Super Bowl, I can't really say much to that, right? But uh, from a Cowboy perspective, the reason it was like depressing to a degree for me anyway is simply because a lot of the things that we see, especially when you analyze this team outside of being a fan, you get to see things that other people aren't really watching. So when you're screaming at the TV or screaming at your computer, like, "Hey, let Rico run the ball a little more," right? Or even just saying run the ball more consistently and more aggressively, or play a little bit more violently. We see that week in, week out, and for some reason, for years, it hasn't fully connected. We had that run with Dak his rookie year, where we still had the remnants of that great wall. That offensive line was still strong then, but since then, I think our offensive line, I think our draft picks and everything, I don't have a problem with the players and the talent acquisition. I think Will McClay's doing a great job, but I do think development has been an issue, and I'm not quite sure who that lands on, because there's certain players that don't play because they're not paid. It's like money plays here, right?
Money's
So
a
there's
big
certain
factor. Yeah.
right. So certain players don't play because they're not paid, right? Like a Wanye Thomas, for instance. You know what I mean? And then on the other end, identity wise, like we don't have one. Offensively, it's like we do a little bit of everything, and we don't understand how to mitigate our risks. When you go back to the Parcells era, you would see even a guy like Tony Romo, who we think is a pretty damn good quarterback. They would ease him into games. They would start throwing like tunnel screens to Des Bryant, you know what I mean? Slants, things like that. They would just get him comfortable. Same thing you see with a lot of young quarterbacks that they'll try to either limit the field, limit their progressions, things like that, just to get them comfortable, so that later in their trajectory in their career they can open up and start reading the field. But that works for an individual game too, and we don't see a lot of those things when it comes to that in big games, especially. It's like they lean too much on just the quarterback, and they don't really put an emphasis on building a balanced offense around Dak. Because when you look at the Eagles, and what I was saying earlier is not Jalen Carter, Jalen Smith. I mean, sorry,
Jalen Carter. Yeah, you're good.
all these Jalen's, man. Jalen Hurts did
Hurts.
not have to carry the Eagles with his arm throughout the season. They were able to win games even when he didn't play at his best at times. And he would even say that, he said that to Saquon at the end of it all, like that extra piece definitely made the difference. So when you look at that, and when you look at most teams that win, they're winning with a balanced effort, whether that balance be offense and defense, or that balance be just solely offensive with the run and the pass balance, right? So balance is the key, and the Cowboys, you don't know if they're balanced or not, or if they can be, because they don't really have an identity offensively. I
Let
like
me break this
Rico. I
down.
like.
Let me break
Go
this
ahead.
down a little bit. Okay. So we're talking
Yeah.
about Rico right now. I'm going to get into a
Hmm.
little bit in depth in terms of what you're saying here.
Hmm.
So, topic number one here is Eagles impact players, right? We always say
Hmm.
draft and develop in Dallas.
Right.
This is, let's just name out a couple guys that I just looked up and the Eagles are drafting. Quinion
Hmm.
Mitchell, okay? Number one corner out of Toledo, drafted
Hmm.
number 22nd. Cooper DeJean, somebody else a lot of people were low on. He is elite in the slot. When you give him his one responsibility and tell him to do that, he plays really, really well.
Right.
Jalen Carter, the year before, Nolan Smith, they gave him a year to develop. He was an impact
Hmm.
player in the playoffs. You go
Right.
even a year before that, they're drafting Jordan Davis, right? They're one technique,
Right.
three technique. They have that settled. Cam Jurgens on the O line, N'Kobe Dean, Devontae Smith the year before, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams. These are all players that they're hitting on in the first, second, and third round. Yeah, they missed on Jalen Rager. Yeah, they missed
Hmm.
on Andre, like, Miles Sanders. They gave him up in a trade. They're missing on guys, but they're consistently going for it. And that's my
Hmm.
thing with the Eagles. They're drafting and developing, and then they're filling holes in free agency. Sure, some
Hmm.
years it doesn't work out for them, but they're always putting their hand in the bag and they're mixing it up. And that's what you said. Dallas has a problem with that. Dallas has a problem with putting guys on the bench that they've already paid because they have something to prove now. Wanye
Hmm.
Thomas can't get on the field. We just had Wanye Thomas on the show. This guy's a super safe guy. You know what I mean? He knows
Hmm.
exactly what he's doing when it comes to playing football. He's a
Oh yeah.
special teams demon, bro. Like, this guy's coming into the league breaking records at Georgia Tech when it comes to special teams. So
Forget special teams. Like
he's a
Wanye Thomas is the most talented safety on our team right now.
one. All right,
And
that is big. Yo, Wanye, we're gonna clip this and send it to you, bro. We got Akoye just spitting facts. Literally,
I've been saying this. I broke Wanye down a year ago. You know what I mean? I've been saying this for about 2 years now. But when you look at his skill set, and I know a lot of people disagree, right? But when you look at his skill set, when I say things, and the way I judge that is based off of his
so spit facts.
overall
Spit facts.
his overall skill set. So let's just say, Hooker is better sideline to sideline, right? But Wanye is good enough sideline to sideline. but but he's better than Hooker in the box, right? Let's just say Donald Wilson is better than Wanye in the box, right?
All right.
But
I agree.
Wanye is
I
good
agree.
enough in the box, and he's better than Dono man to man and sideline to sideline. So when you combine both those skill sets, he has a skill set that combines what you see in a Hooker and what you see in a Marquise Bell or even a Dono Wilson as well. He can do a little bit of everything because he's 6'3", 220 as well. So he's a safety that's very versatile and has a skill set that we really don't utilize very well on this team. Like I remember we wanted a guy like Derwin James during that draft, right?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, I'm not saying he's Derwin James is his doppelganger, but he has those similar traits, those skill sets that skill set that we like. You know what I mean?
Wanye
So
Thomas is a Brian Branch type of guy, somebody who can line up and come down into the box, play good
yeah,
enough, take the tight end away. He can take the middle of the field away,
he can take
and
your
he
slot
is an
away.
athlete, right? So he can
Yeah,
take a lot away, like you're saying.
yeah,
But we don't let him be that player because he's an
no,
undrafted free agent and he has to
yeah,
work his way up the ladder and he's
yeah.
making plays in practice, but we don't give him the starting spot because we paid Dono X amount of money. We
Man,
paid,
it's
Hooker X amount of money, and we're making these players sit. And like Rico as well. What about the sickness thing and them making Zeke play that game against the
I
49ers?
don't
It's the
even know
same
what that
type of
was all
shit, you
about.
know?
Yeah, right. I was just watching a documentary to that point on James Harrison. James Harrison, I love Steelers linebackers, right?
I got you.
Since I was a kid, I love Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green, those guys. You know what I mean? Joey Porter, and obviously James Harrison. Um, but when you look at him getting cut 4 times, you know what I mean, having to sit and then figuring it out and becoming like one of the Steelers' all-time sack leaders, things like that, and I think a Hall of Famer as well. He should be at one point, but or at some point that those stories I don't think happen or will happen as readily here in Cowboy Nation because, like I said, money plays. You know, you remember
Money talks.
We had Martellus Bennett sitting behind Jason Witten, and yeah, Witten had done his due diligence and done his dirt right where you want him to play some, but when you have Martellus Bennett, you can't tell me that Witten was better than Martellus Bennett at that time. I don't think he was
The
at that
problem
time.
with this team, Okoye, is Witten is a Hall of Famer. We'll
Mhm.
acknowledge that, right? Probably even
Right,
first ballot. Like he can potentially go in this year coming up. But
right.
we will never get rid of a player who gets to that position or gets to that aura. We will keep them until they retire. We will keep them 3 or 4 years they're washed, and we
Mhm.
will not let. They'll be like I don't know, what do they call it in coaching, like like a position blocker. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like they're
Yeah,
blocking the
like a
progress of the
logjam.
next guy.
Yeah, a progress stopper. Yep.
We have a
I
bunch of
agree.
progress stoppers, bro, on in
Mhm.
every single position in the defense right now. Is Demarcus Lawrence a progress stopper to you? Let's have this talk right now.
That's a tough one for me because I do like DeMarcus Lawrence. I think he's one of the better interior. When I say interior, I mean on interior runs. He's not an interior run stuffer like a D tackle, but he's good in the B gap, right? Anything outside, edge control has been a problem for him for years now. Quarterbacks always break his contain, and so do
It's a
running
problem.
backs.
Yeah.
It's easy
I
to
know it's a
pin and
problem because I know
pull.
you watched the film, bro. I know it's a
Yeah,
problem.
it's easy to trick him on the outside. So um, I thought that when Fowler was here, I thought that when Dorrance Armstrong was here, even Slam Williams, I think those guys all, even Nealon, all set the edge consistently
Nealon's good.
better
Yeah.
than D Law does. And when I say set the edge, I mean D Law can do it. But it's like he's one of those guys that if you say, "Hey, this play I need you to set the edge hard," he does it and then he forgets, right? And he stops. He's not consistent at it. But if he wanted to, he can do it very well. He would just have to be less of a reckless
He
player. Like
splits the gap when he wants to, right? He sees
yeah,
something and he goes, and that's
yeah,
to the detriment to him and to the benefit because he will get into the backfield in some plays like that. He does it,
right.
at his own beck
Like
and
that
call.
Lions play where he forced that fumble, ran through 4 guys. Yeah, he does things like that.
He
So
does things
I-
like that, but
but
okay, a little bit expensive or what? Like you trying to give the new kids a chance? You trying to give Nealon a chance here? You trying to draft somebody in the first round? If we get a defensive end that comes up, what's the
right.
conversation there opposite of Micah?
Well, the conversation for me, opposite Micah, has to be Sam Williams. I think we need to see what Sam Williams can do. I know
Sam
coming
Williams
off of
forgot about. Yeah,
yeah,
ACL.
coming off of an ACL, I don't know, if that's adding too much pressure to him. And I also like Nealon being that guy that can come in and be like your run stuffer, just a good run stopper from the edge. I don't think he's a great pass rusher. He's like a Greg Ellis that can get there based off of hustle and
Yep.
and motor, but not really a moves guy. And maybe he'll develop some, who knows? But I like Nealon and Sam Williams opposite Micah Parsons. And then when you look at guys like Chauncey, I like Chauncey anywhere you put him, to be honest with you. I think Chauncey is a unsung hero on this defense, and I don't think he gets enough credit for his skill set. He can play. He's played one tech, three tech, and both defensive end positions, and even stand up outside linebacker on this team. And it's like that's a guy, that's a Swiss Army knife for you. But to do that at a high level, play in, play out, it's very hard to do. He plays violent. He has length. Reminds me of Calais Campbell, one of those
We're about
types.
to
You know
get
what I
into it
mean?
right now. All right. We're about
Yeah,
to
go
go.
ahead, hit it.
I'm about to drop this to you right now. I'm not paying Osa $20 million. I'm sorry.
Oh, you say not playing
I'm
Osa?
not
Oh
paying Osa
yeah.
$20 million.
No, no, no. I mean, Osa to me is a great player. I think he's a good player, right? I like Osa.
Apparently, the
What?
conversation is we're just in talks with him right now for an extension. So,
Mm,
I guess they're getting the ball rolling in terms of seeing what his value is. But
right.
okay, I'm gonna throw this out there to you, Okoye.
Go ahead.
The franchise tag is $24 million.
Never.
I got the graphic up here where they're valuing him $22 million a year.
Mm.
They're trying to say that he deserves a 3 year, 66 to $65 million, like $70 million
But see,
contract.
and here's the thing: like you can. I don't want to shit on Osa's money, right? Because I think
I
Osa
don't want to
does
shit on
deserve the
Osa's
money.
money either, but
No, no,
like
I think he
it's not
deserves
for
the money.
us.
Exactly. There that you can be worth 66 million and not be good for the Cowboys at the same time. Like when you look at Osa and I say, all right, well, Osa had what, 5 sacks, 6 sacks, something like that.
Okay,
He's he's
I'm gonna show
go ahead.
this. I'm gonna research this shit and bring it to the next show. Okay,
Go ahead.
so
Yeah, let's do
basically, there's a chart where it shows his value. It
it. Mhm.
goes up from like fucking week 8 to 14, where it's just going up to like 22, $24 million per year, and then as soon as you hit week 15, it just drops down to like $12 million every
Mhm.
single year. When it comes
Mhm.
to the last 3 games, the last 4 games, I
Mhm.
don't hear his name called. I
Mhm.
don't see him show up.
Mhm.
He is really good at the beginning of the season, but this guy has
Right.
a problem where he falls off at the end of the year.
Well, because he's undersized. Like that's one of the things I want to say. He's very strong, has good leverage. He's a good pass rusher, but he's undersized. And I look at him as a guy that he can get you your sacks based off of like his skill set and his strength, right? But
I got you.
if he's at 5 sacks a season and worth 24 million, right? And Chauncey had what, 4.5 sacks, something like that, I
Chauncey, I'll
think.
look it
So
up. I'll look it up
I
quick.
think Chauncey and he had about the same production sack wise or close to it. And I think Chauncey gives you more because he can give you the same amount of sacks, but obviously, but also stop the run a lot better than Osa can consistently. So and I haven't seen Chauncey get as much tick as Osa.
You know what? Chauncey had 5.5 sacks this year. So like he had 1 sack, 1 sack, 1.5 sacks, and then he blows up and has 5.5 sacks this year. We can comfortably say it's due to an increased amount of playing time. He was
There you go.
forced to play on the line due to the amount of injuries that we had. Um,
Exactly.
Let me look up OSA stats real quick here too.
Hmm.
This is my problem, bro. I'm gonna read this out to you, okay? This is my problem right now.
Right.
2 sacks, 4 sacks, 3 sacks, 4.5 sacks. And you're trying to tell me he's our dominant 3 technique that we're trying to build
So
the franchise
Chauncey
around?
has more sacks than Osa this year.
Chauncey has more sacks than Osa this year, bro, by 1 sack. And that's just
Yeah.
because he got more playing time. If you look at it, I looked at the
What,
stats already
what
before
about
it.
tackles though? I haven't looked at his tackles. Where
Okay,
are we?
so now since I'm on the page, all right, so we have
Tackles and tackles, because I count tackles for loss as a sack as well. Just you
tackles
sack
for
the running
loss.
back.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
gonna rip off Osa's real quick. So first year he's starting as 6, then he has 8, 9, and 5. So only had 4.5 sacks last year, 5 tackles for loss. Not really, crazy numbers
So
out here.
that's like 9.5 sacks to
Chauncey
me.
has 5 tackles for loss, bro. I was
What
telling you
about
that
last
right
year?
now. Yeah, last year Chauncey has 5 tackles for loss. Like this guy
Uh,
literally is matching Osa, and you're trying to tell me this is the dominant three technique we're building our defense around? I cannot, bro.
no,
Not in this type of
no, it doesn't.
deep defensive tackle class that we have coming up.
Yeah, it doesn't make. I mean, to me, Osa doesn't move the needle for us when it comes to like a guy that when you say, hey, when you're playing the Cowboys, you better stop Osa. He's not Jalen Carter. You know what I'm saying? He's not
That's
a
the
guy
problem
that
that I'm having.
yeah.
Yeah, he's not a
Yeah,
game
and
plan
he
guy.
doesn't have to be. I don't like Chauncey doesn't have to be Jalen Carter. But what I'm saying is if you're gonna give me a guy that's gonna get you 3 to 8 sacks on a good year, 8 on his best year, I don't need to pay him 60, I mean, well, 20 million a year to stay here, number one. And number two, if I can get that, if I already proved I can get that out of Chauncey, and I think Jerry Jones is similar with this. If I already proved I can get that out of a guy that we're paying that we can keep for less money, then you do it. Who's playing better and who will take less money to stay here? I think you
Facts.
pay Chauncey
You're gonna
and
piss a
you
lot of
say,
people
"Oh,
off saying that, but it's just what it is, bro. That's the
no, it
business
doesn't."
side
I
of it.
mean, that's why I don't listen to anybody because I don't listen to any of the shows, so that way I'm not tilted
That's
with
why you
my
guys gotta
opinions.
listen to our show. You guys gotta subscribe to our channel.
No,
We're
I
gonna be
just
putting
say
this
what I
out
say.
every
You know
week,
what I mean?
bro. Spit
Yeah, let's do
facts.
it. Yeah, let's do it. But
Yo,
yeah, that's why I don't listen because that way I'm not feeling like, hey, my guy over here who I trust his opinion thinks this. You know what I mean? I don't. I
nah.
just don't.
You
Yeah.
gotta watch and you gotta have your own opinion. This is my problem. You gotta watch and you gotta have your own opinion, but there's nobody watching. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Are the fans really watching every single play down and down out? Are they going on
No, they don't
NFL
have the time
Pro?
to. That's why they watch us. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because
So it's like you
even
get
the players though, that nobody has. I keep saying this, and it's not like it's
spit it.
not wrong and it's not elitist, but during the season, right? A player has to prepare for the next opponent. He doesn't have time to keep watching yesteryear and all the games from last week and the week before and the week and then last year watch his technique to see what he was doing wrong and what he can fix. So a lot of these things are like in the moment for them. And then in the off season, they want to catch up with their family, want to heal their body, get some surgeries, catch up on surgeries, things like that, travel and do things. So I know that players likely don't watch as much film as we watch or as I watch. I know for sure because I will sit and watch the same game or the same season from several different angles. Like to break down a player on the defense, I have to watch the entire defense from different perspectives. So I've watched the same game over and over and over again. So it no fans don't watch the game the way we watch the game. So that's why they watch us in the first place because they're trusting that due to that routine. We've seen it. And they can trust that we've seen it because when I put it out, you know what I mean. What I say on the field is consistent. Even though this year we got our asses kicked, something crazy. Even that though, you can see why and some of the rhymes and reasons, and that's what is like disheartening when it comes to doing this is because you can see exactly what's going on. Like last year, not having a linebacker on the team or on the field in most downs was insane, like insane. When I say not having one, I didn't count LV as a linebacker because he didn't want to hit. If your linebacker doesn't want to hit, whether you're Clark, whether you're Jalen Smith or you're LVE, then you're not a linebacker because that's like the number one criteria for the job is are you physical? And when you have non-physical linebacker play, it's crazy, right? So to see stuff like that consistently for the year, or you see what they did with Mozzie and the lack of development last year, him playing at 290, things like that. It's like I don't know what the disconnect is or what's going on with the mindset of of how the Cowboys are being run. And I mean, a lot of people point at Jerry because it's a head scratcher, but a lot of things just don't make sense with the way they put a product on the field. And I don't know if it has to be intentional, but I don't know why they're doing it. You know what I mean? I
Like,
just
what do
can
you mean
see
by that?
that
I
it
don't
doesn't
know.
make
Like, let's get into it. What do you mean by like what they're doing is intentional? Like, explain that a little bit more.
so if you it's common sense things, right? Like we had Jabril Cox here, right?
Yeah.
Jabril Cox is a linebacker that can play safety, or he's a linebacker that can flat out cover. That's what he was known for in LSU, right?
Okay.
You get him here and you don't use him to do any of that. When he was playing, to me, before they cut him, he was playing better than LVE. He's playing better than most of our linebackers in preseason anyway, before they cut him, right? You have a guy like I forget the kid's name. I think his name was Harper last season, linebacker as well. They got rid of him as well, right? Two linebackers that can play, and then go through the rest of the year and not have a linebacker. See what
So
I'm saying? So if you
everyone's gonna
cut your
say
line,
that was because they basically want to get McCarthy out. That's what everyone's theory is right now.
could be because that's what I'm saying. It has to be intentional because if you know you cut your linebackers in the preseason, right, and then you go into the season with no linebackers, and that's the clear reason for your lack of run defense and so on throughout the year. You didn't know that in the preseason that you would need to address the fact that you cut Jabril Cox and Harper. You don't address that, and then when LVE gets hurt, you don't go pick up one of those guys. You pick up Rashaan Evans, and I'll give you an example as to what I mean by intentionality. Right,
Yeah,
I
go.
the limited snaps that Rashaan Evans would have, he would flash. Right, and I would say, damn, like he's something. So I broke him down before we got him, and I said, yo, he we picked him instead. We picked LV instead of him, right?
Yeah,
And this guy's been better every year. I looked at his tackles for loss. He had like 56 tackles for loss. He was having like 12 tackles for loss every season, right? Every season, right? For the same, when you compared LV had 12 for his entire career,
but we held on
right?
to LV for way too long,
I
bro.
get no, no. LV was never it. You know what I mean? His
There you
first
go.
year, yeah, but to have 12 tackles for loss as a linebacker, and I'll give you perspective on this. When you look up Demo had 10 this year.
Okay.
10. LV had 12 his entire career. Do you understand how crazy that sounds? You have
Demo is a sad story, man. This guy, he's gonna be the comeback player of the year next year. But like, I had
correct.
high hopes for this guy, and he came through. That's the
Yeah,
other thing. We had
yeah,
all had high hopes for him because we saw him flash in the preseason. This guy
right,
was the one kid on the film that is getting a tackle for loss, getting a sack in every single preseason game that he plays. And then,
right,
yo, to have that happen to him, it sucks. But yo, I'm telling you, if we are somewhat even good next year, if we get him back in week 6 or week 8, he will be a
right.
demon on this team.
Oh no, that's 100%. That's like a, you know what I mean? That's not even a hot take. You know what I mean? Demo has the heart and has the mindset for the game, and I don't think that knee is going to stop him at all. He's another Navarro Bowman or another Frank Gore. I think
Yeah.
he'll be just fine. Willis McGahee, he'll be just fine with the
I
knees. I don't
brought
think
this
it's going
up,
to.
yo. The graphic on the coaching staff. Let's go through this real quick on defense. What are you
Mm,
thinking with Matt Eberflus? I know we got a couple minutes left with you, so we'll rip off a
you good?
couple topics real quick.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
Matt
And we do like 10,
Eberflus.
15. That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
go
how
ahead.
long can you go for?
Till about 10, 15. So we got like 20 minutes.
All
That's
right,
all good.
bet. Matt Eberflus, Aaron White caught in. David
Hmm.
Overstreet, defensive backs coach. We all know that everybody is the beloved Al Harris, fanboy that thinks that he's the only DB coach that can do anything in the NFL. We got a new one now. And someone I'm going to throw out to you when I was doing this research on the coaching stuff, right? Darian Thompson comes in as
Mm,
secondaries and nickels coach for the team for the second year in a row. So we
right,
have him coming back onto the coaching
right,
staff, which is interesting. But
right.
what do you have to say about Eberflus? What do you think he's going to do? How do you think he's going to run our defense?
Well, I mean, Eberflus, he doesn't really hide it. You know what I mean? He's a like a soft shell, too high safety coach, right? He plays zone. He has a vision defense.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking at the quarterback at all times, and it's predicated. He doesn't blitz a hell of a lot either. So it's predicated on his front four creating enough chaos so those guys can can get big, excuse me, get picks. Like it's like Rod Marinelli. And I don't want to say Rod Marinelli
Everybody's
because
going to get
everybody
scared, bro.
hates
They're going to
Rod
think about the
Marinelli.
bend, don't break defense. You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about?
it's not a bend but don't break. You just but with that defense, Marinelli included, you know, that defense only works if you have freakish guys on that front line, right? We got Micah Parsons, that's one of them, right? We need
That's
to
one.
couple him with a guy like Sam Williams if he can get it together, and we need something in the interior
Let's
because
pause
you
on that
saw what
right
the
now
Eagles were
because I,
able to
I
do
know
with
that
just four.
you
Go ahead.
are high on Sam Williams, and I just want to throw it out there for the fans. We're very high on Sam Williams. If
Oh, I'm
Sam
very high.
Williams can return, that kid with more
What do you
playing
mean if?
time, there's
Crazy.
always a if, bro. You know what I
No,
mean?
no, 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 no,
Like
no.
there's
Sam Williams just needed playing time, and he needs to calm down. Like that's it. He's a fucking.
if
He's a.
you
He's a
if you
bad man.
eliminate his penalties, he is like
Mhm.
he's better than Randy Gregory in my opinion.
Oh, Randy Gregory was, a penalty machine
A
too. But
machine.
yeah, but I don't think that that's hard to do when you have somebody that's bought in. I think when you have a player that's like just playing off of emotion, he and
He's in
there's
his
no
contract
room.
year, I think, this year too.
Oh yeah, for sure. So you're gonna get the best out of him. But Sam Williams is to me a great talent. I think he's gonna be great if he gets the time to play. He hasn't gotten the time. They haven't really let him do anything, and that's what always bothers me with the way we manage certain guys. We'll
Because
have
he's
guys
yeah,
that are good players, like
he
a
is
Travaris
showing it on
Ward.
special teams, right? Like these
Yeah,
kids are showing it on special teams where Sam Williams going down the field as a gunner, defensive ends lined up as a gunner, running like 4-4, making plays,
that
and
doesn't exist.
it just doesn't it just doesn't get playing time
That
on. It
doesn't
doesn't
exist
earn him
anyway.
anything.
It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I think when you if you took Sam and he can be what we think he is or what we already know he is, opposite Micah Parsons, and you use Micah Parsons as that chess piece, Eberflus is going to create some chaos, and I think you're going to get a lot more picks because he spoke on it. He said he thinks we have two great corners or good corners. Eberflus with Jordan Johnson. Um, he would tilt the defense, sort of like Rex Ryan used to with Revis. He would tilt the defense away from him because he knew Johnson was just that good. He would say, "Hey, you're either going to throw at the numbers, meaning where we have everyone in their zone sitting and waiting for you, or you're going to throw at our best corner." But now you have two guys on the outside that can man it on their own. So that makes the middle of the field like a no-fly zone. Like you're not going to
This
be
is
able to throw a ball across the middle of the field.
yeah.
You're going to have to throw and challenge our corners in the air. And I think you're going to get a lot of interceptions out of this. Look, if Diggs can come back healthy, and if we retain Jordan Lewis, I'm even happier. You know what I mean? Because I look at it like we'll go into the draft not starving at corner if Diggs is
Couple
healthy
points.
and Lewis is here.
Couple points I'm gonna hit on. So talked about Jalen Johnson, probably one
Right.
of the best DBs
Jalen,
in the
yeah,
league.
Jalen. Hmm.
I think it's fair to say anybody who's a football fan knows that Jalen Johnson is him. When we
Hmm.
get into what you're talking about right now,
Hmm.
with more picks, right?
Hmm.
Jalen Johnson is still getting interceptions, even though they're not throwing the ball to him. He's still
Hmm.
getting himself in position where he's reading routes and he's able to understand the defense. And this is the point that I wanted to talk about when you said he came out in the interview and he's like, we have two fantastic DBs on this team.
Hmm.
Just because Diggs is a guy you're going to throw away from, or Bland is a guy you're going to throw away from, trust me when Akoye says this, we're still going to get picks.
Oh
These
no,
guys are still going to be successful.
you're not going to throw away from them because of the way he runs his deep. Like I said, when you look at Eberflus, I broke him down, right? You have no choice, right? Like so, let's say
Got you.
you as a quarterback, you're not going to throw into the numbers and like so. I'm meaning if you're looking to your left and everyone opposite Jalen Johnson is double teamed or bracketed, right?
Yep.
You're going to throw
You're
it.
going
You're
to
going
throw
to
to
be
Jalen
forced.
Johnson.
You're going to have to throw it at him. So that's why he's getting his picks. It's not because he's just reading things well. It's because the defense was designed for you to have to throw at him, and that's what I mean. It's like force guys to have to deal with your best talent. That was the argument for me saying Micah should play off ball sometimes too. Is like, okay, if he's on the edge, you can trap him,
I got you.
you can chip him, you can get him out of, you can take him out of the play, out of the game, right, or out of the play. You can if he's in the middle of the field and you're funneling all the traffic to him, right? I want all the traffic funneled to your playmakers because that's how you make plays. So when you look at the way our corners are lined up, the way Bland was hurt last year and Diggs was as well. But if they're healthy coming into this season, and you take away the middle of the field, you know what I mean? The way he does with two high safeties anyway, and your safeties don't have to kind of get over the top of those guys because they're good out there. They're just helping the seams and stopping everything, robbing everything across the middle of the field. So it's going to make it extremely difficult and messy in the middle of the field. And that means that those guys on the outside are going to get opportunities. It also may mean that Eberflus may show you something different and blitz a little bit more because he has a pretty good secondary here. And like I said, if we keep Jordan Lewis, even Carson got playing time. You know what I mean? So if you keep a Jordan Lewis and and you have Izzy still on this team, I don't know if he's staying or going, but if you keep those guys, you still have a secondary that I think is formidable,
I
and
think
that
the
may allow
jury's
him to
still
get a
out
little
on
bit more.
Carson. I'm not really sold on him yet. Like he needs more playing time. He's another kid that needs to be thrown out there and he needs more time. But one thing I want to mention that you talked about right now, Micah playing more linebacker. And
Hmm.
I don't want to get fans a little bit like, yo, he needs to be on the edge and getting his stats, and he needs to get paid as an edge, and you can't classify him as linebacker. Forget about that for right now. Let's just
Right.
talk about the threat of having him all across the defense and
Yeah.
him having success at the outside linebacker position, him
Right.
having success at the middle linebacker position, and putting that on film, right? So
Hmm.
Flus can take that and use it. And when he does put him outside to rush from, like a nine instead of being right on the edge there, he's able to be effective. You know what I mean? And
Right.
this is where the game plans start to change because we start to move Micah around like everybody wants us to, and he turns
Hmm.
into that Fred Warner hybrid that we don't have in the league, where he's Fred Warner on
Hmm.
the second level, but he's also Von Miller on the first level.
Well, a guy like that hasn't been seen. Like you, there's. I've never seen anything like what Micah Parsons can be if they use him that way. And I think it's a misnomer when they say that, to use him anywhere off ball is insane because when you look at his sacks, I broke them down last year. I didn't count all of his sacks this year and see where they came from.
Okay.
But when you look at his sacks last season, so the year before this one, 2023, all right. When you look at his sacks, yeah, what 13 and a half sacks. Half of them came from the A gap. So he had 7 sacks from the A gap, meaning in the middle of the field anyway, blitzing from a
He
stand-up
does that like
linebacker position.
basketball hezzy move, you know what I mean? Where he hezzies the
Yeah,
center and
yeah,
then he'll get
yeah.
by him.
I call it skiing. Like they stood, Kuechly and Thomas Davis used to do that very well, and so did Sean Lee. Like they're like right in front of you, and they kind of like ski right past you. But he does that very well. You can't, and in the middle of the field when he's standing there at off ball. The reason I say it is because Micah can affect the pass rush without pass rushing, even if he doesn't want to
Okay.
pass rush, right? So if he's standing there, you're always going to slide protection to wherever he is, right? And I think Zimmer did a good job of showing that he was moving him around, and I think Micah with another year of Zimmer would have been insane as well
He had an
because Zimmer,
underrated year this year because he had
oh
12
yeah,
sacks this year, okay, which
but he
was
missed
at
games like
13
crazy.
games, right? So it's
Yeah,
like if he had four more games with Zimmer, I think it would have been his best year. He would have had over 15 sacks, and he
exactly.
probably would have been defensive player of the year. Lots of people don't think about it that way because he was injured and he's missing time, but
Right.
that's facts, bro. Another thing is too, Micah's leading the league in like pressures. So if he's
Hmm.
not getting there, he's in the backfield and he's making the quarterback throw the ball. To get that quarterback to speed up their internal clock and get the ball
Hmm.
out, that's another thing that's an underrated factor about him. And he's
Right.
always around the ball and always in the backfield.
Right. True. True. And I give him that, but those pressures, a lot of the pressures that we're getting, right? And I
Hmm.
think it's not just when Mike is on the field either, but everyone. It's like they'll lose discipline, like their lane discipline when it comes to the way they're pass rushing against some of the more mobile quarterbacks, because quarterbacks always seem to get away from us and like kill us, like make big plays down the field when we don't get home. And it can't just be Micah getting home. That's why I was glad seeing Demo step up the way he did this year. I think
Yeah.
he did well when he blitzed. I think Morris is an underrated rusher as well when it comes to from the linebacker
He
position.
played better when he got more time when Demo went down. Like that first
100%.
game back, like it took him a little bit to get acclimated, but he definitely filled his role when Demo went
Oh, no,
down.
I liked what I saw with Morris. Yeah, I think both of those guys are the linebackers of the future here. So when you look at what Micah Parsons can do, I'm not saying like because I think Morris and Demo are going to be your linebackers in the middle of the field. It's not going to be Micah Parsons, but having him do it at times just adds an element that not only gets another pass rusher on the field, meaning you get another, you can keep a Sam Williams and another defensive end if we draft one, or Nealon on the field at the same time, along with a Micah Parsons, right? That allows you that extra man and a demo, at the same time. And when you look at what Eberflush was doing with Chicago, he runs some of those 3-4 fronts, and I think that's the biggest thing for Micah Parsons. You spoke on it, him being able to rush from a 9 stand up 2-point stance position versus just being a straight up 4 down, 1 of 4 edge guy, right? I don't think that's his best position. I think he's an outside linebacker in the 3-4 or a linebacker in 3-4 anywhere you want him. That would be the ultimate
We gotta
base defense for him because of the subterfuge. Like if you take a guy who can beat you even if you know where he is and you hide him, that makes it all the more difficult to deal with him. Like if you move a guy around and you make him a chess piece, but he already can flat out beat you anyway, That's just insane to me.
So, yo, this is the thing. Everybody wants the scheme change, right? We want the Shanahan tree. We want the, McVay tree. We finally got a couple guys from there, and I'll just throw them out here quick, and we'll move on to the offense. But Aaron White caught in. He's been under
Hmm.
Salah before.
Hmm.
He's coming from the Jets defense. That's nasty. He's
Hmm.
had everybody on his Jets defense playing at a very, very high level.
Hmm.
Double digit sacks there. And then
Hmm.
another like sneaky hire that I'm going to throw out there, Okoye,
Hmm.
Nick Sorensen,
Hmm.
49ers former defensive coordinator, now fired for Robert Sala, but we're
Hmm.
picking up the pieces here. I think it gives us a little bit of an edge that we didn't have on that Mike McCarthy staff when it comes to having somebody in the building that now understands what a Shanahan scheme and tree looks like, at least up close and being involved in the staff. What do you think?
Um, well, I look at it like this. I think that everything he's saying is valid, right? But when we talk about the Shanahan scheme and what they're doing over there with the 49ers, like they used to be a pain in our ass, right?
Yep.
But prior to Shanahan, it was McVay. You know, the misdirections were killing us because we've always been, and we for the last probably like 8 years, we've been a vision based defense. Like we play a lot of zone. You know what I mean? You got Diggs that plays man very well, and so does Bland. But we play a lot of zone, and we run a lot of similar looks, especially when we're with Quinn. We ran cover three all day long, almost right. So the reason Shanahan's scheme was giving us so much trouble is because it's a cover three beater, and we ran cover three so much, right? I think it's going to be different with the Eberflush anyway because he runs that too high look and it takes away some of those plays that you want, those over routes that you want to run, things like that. You're not going to do them as much because that's not how you beat cover two. You're going to see a lot of seam routes, a lot of routes that are like trying to split those safeties rather than those over routes that's trying to stress out that single high safety. You get what I mean?
I
So
got
I
you.
think that's part of the reason that scheme just seems so formidable is because misdirections and trap plays, counter trades work against that defense, that type of defense, and so over routes. So it's good to have someone in here who can kind of teach you how to play up against that, right? But I think that the schemes themselves are. I don't want to say they're not overrated because they did well. I think McVay, he did well. So did Shanahan. They do well, but they're not indomitable like people pretend they are. Like they can be beat, but the Eagles showed you physicality is where it is right now. Like if you're a throwback style team, whether it's Shanahan, whether you got Shoddy who has a throwback
Shotty's a throwback
team in his
style kind
blood,
of type of
right?
coach. He's
Throwback is where it's at today, just like with fashion. They
Ariel,
say with
so
fashion,
this is a thing. People are gonna
but
get pissed because they're gonna see Shoddy run it on first down a lot. They're gonna see
good,
that. But like he
great,
needs to do it. We need to be more physical. We need to get
yes.
more up in the line of scrimmage in the third and fourth quarter when we're wearing these offensive linemen down. That's when this stuff is gonna show up.
It's insane to say that to run the ball on first down is something wrong with that, right? When you throw the ball on first down and you're not efficient, or if you miss that play, right, on first down, or you God forbid you're throwing some intercept. You look at how fast the game got away from KC. But when you're when
Yep.
you're when you're throwing the ball on first down, if you're incomplete, you're down a distance is 2 and 10, 2nd and 10, right?
And then they
So
know you have to throw the ball. So it's
they
setting you
yes,
up for
and now to
failure.
run on second down is like it's less chances
This
for
is the whole
success.
conversation, Okoye, where
Now
they
you're in third and long
let's
over and
get
over
into
again.
this, right? They're like
Yeah.
people think it's too predictable on first down. Like we can't run on first down all the time. What do you think happens on 2nd and 10 when it gets even more predictable that you're
You're
going to pass
throwing.
the ball,
Now you're
right?
predictable. Yeah.
And then when
If you
if you
if you
run and
run
then you
for
get
3
stuffed
yards,
there and then you're
yeah,
3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, what are you going to do on third down? You're going to throw. And then you're going to have people like Micah Parsons on the other side of the ball that are going to
that'll
go
pin
after
their
you.
ears
Nick
back
Bosa is
and
going to go
kill you.
after you, right? And they're going
Yeah.
to kill you. So this is
Yep.
this is the predictability thing. You guys is garbage, bro. Throw that out there. That's some
Yeah.
that's some
Doesn't make sense.
that's some guy who doesn't watch anything and he's just
Man,
saying like,
Parcells
"Hey, he
used to
just
say,
pissed off,"
"Give
you know?
me you can give me 3 yards in a dust of smoke on a first down, and I can
About
do
it.
that. I can do that 3 times and get you first down." Get what I'm saying?
It
So
opens up the
3
playbook, you know
yards
what
is
I
all you
mean?
really need on first down. You don't need to hit home runs. You know what I mean? You just need to be physical. You need a bell cow or a combination of backs that allow you to do that. And if you're on 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6 on average, you have options there because you can still run the ball. You can still be a little bit more, a little bit less predictable, should I say? And surprise some teams with that if you're doing that. When you come out throwing on first down solely, the game can definitely get away from you because there's a lot more 3-and-outs that are built that way. And it's not a secret when you look at you look at the consistent good teams or the teams that are even flashing out of nowhere, like Detroit is, right? It's not coming
They
because
built that.
they're not doing it because they're passing the ball all over the place. They are
Drew
running the football.
backhead system, right?
Yes, they're
Jameer
running the
Gibbs,
football and committing to the run in the
David
offensive line.
Montgomery. They have
It's
a
very
short
easy to see
yardage back. They have a back that can catch it at the backfield. They have a
and
back that
hit
they
the
can
home
use in
run.
the bubble screen game, and he can hit home runs. They
Right.
really, and then they have Laporta, a physical tight end at the point of attack who can block. And
There you
every
go.
time he blocks, he sets them up for that play action where he's about to get it in the middle of the field. We got 2 minutes left, bro. So we're gonna
Yes, sir.
pause it here. All right. This is our first episode. It will end up being a sick episode. First of all, to all the fans that are watching, when we upload this tomorrow, this is what we're talking about. We're gonna come at you guys every single week. We don't have like a set schedule, but what I'll say is, me and Akoye will let you guys know on Twitter when we're gonna go live, and I sent Akoye like a list of topics. It was probably like literally 30 pages long. So
Yo, you
trust
you
me.
you got yo. I'm like, yo, listen. And then during the day, I'm running around. I run my business during the day. Like I have a LC Stone Homes. We house like the homeless, so I'm always running around in one of those houses. But when you send me lists, I have no time to read them because I'm running around
I
all day
got
until
you.
probably like 7 p.m. I'm
I'm
like, this
getting a
dude is
Koya.
like
I'm making sure he
crazy, man.
has it, and he has all the information, all the
Man, you write
research.
dissertations. He don't write text messages and shit. He write thesis statements and shit. Like,
Bro, I'm out
yo,
here writing a thesis on why the Cowboys are fucked up. And like
there
literally
you go.
literally Akoya agrees. So yo, that's all good. We got a bunch of material to even go even longer, but we gotta stop today. So that's totally
Yep.
fine. We're gonna have this come out again next week. I'll probably end up convincing Okoye to come back on this week because we have the
Oh, we can do
draft
that.
coming up. You know what I mean?
Let's do it.
Yo, Terrence Parson wants to come on with us, man. We got Micah's brother that
Oh,
wants
that's
to
my
hop on,
guy.
bro.
Yeah, I talked to him.
So
Yeah,
yo,
that's my guy.
we're about to have Bear
You know,
guests hop
I
on,
met
man.
his brother right in Philly. I met Micah in Philly.
That's dope.
Uh, I was coming out of Redden Terminal, and I got a license to carry too, right? So I got a gun that's like mounted to the underneath my steering wheel,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So I see him in traffic, and I just fling. I'm just in fan mode. I fling the door open in the middle of traffic in Philadelphia and just jump out the car. He
Yo,
can see inside my car, so he sees the gun sitting there under my steering wheel. I'm running over like, yo, and I'm
bro.
like, yo, you gotta take this picture. And he just looking at me. I'm like, and then I look at the picture. I'm like,
Yo, I'm
why are you
clipping
so?
this, all right? This is gonna be our
Yeah,
first clip to go on
I'm like,
social
why he
media.
so pissed off looking? I'm like, then I thought
I
back
thought
on it.
you were
Like,
gonna
that was
rob him
fucking
or some shit.
insane. This is Philadelphia, like Philadelphia, and you jumped out of a car with a gun hanging off your steering wheel and then ran over to the boy in
Bro,
traffic, like on the sidewalk, and just made him take a picture with you. I like that kind of seemed kind of
Micah's a
crazy
G.
when I
Trust me,
think
we're
back
gonna
on
get
it.
him on here one
Yeah,
day
he cool
soon. All
dude,
right.
man. But that was insane.
Terrence wants to
That was
hop on.
insane.
Same with his boy, King Cappers. So we're gonna have him on
Oh yeah,
soon.
yeah. King Caper, that's my man too. I know both of them.
And
Yeah, we
then
cool.
Big Game James, he's gonna hop
Oh
on with
yeah,
us too.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Boss Cowboy linked up, man. Even he wants
Oh
to hop
yeah, I
on.
fuck with
So
Boss, man. That's my
yo,
guy.
we got a lot of stuff coming for you guys, a lot of stuff planned. So what I'll say is we'll let you know on Twitter when episode 2 is coming out. I bet you guys will be back here in a couple of days for the draft for sure. Okoye, what I'll say is let's get this going. We got an episode every week. By the time we get
Man,
to NFL season, this show is about to be popping.
I'm leaning on you because part of the reason I can't be as consistent as I want is I don't have much time. So you
Yeah.
setting it up and doing some of the production is definitely going to take a lot of weight off me. So I'm looking forward to this season, man. And
This will be fun, man.
yeah, I'm
Honestly,
definitely having fun with it. Let's
production
do it.
for me. If you guys been following me,
And we're
you
gonna
already
talk
know.
about more than football too, man. We got other shit to talk about too, man. Let's
Yo,
get it.
we just started today with like what's relevant. Don't worry, we got a
Yeah,
bunch of stuff
yeah.
coming up, and
Let's
you
get it.
said you got some boxing stuff you want to talk about. So I definitely want to get
Oh,
into that.
everything. We talk about
Yo,
lifestyle, all that,
I
right?
gotta tell you about the
Everything.
first time I went to Philly in my Des Bryant jersey. He scored 3 touchdowns that day. I threw up the X, almost got beat up. So I'll tell you about that
You
next time
probably got
too.
spat on. You just didn't know it because they
Yo,
spit on the back.
100%. People are throwing
It's
snowballs and shit at me.
Yeah,
Like,
they'll spit on the back of your jersey. You won't know they're doing it. So you
I
gotta.
gotta
I
tell
would
you
never
guys,
wear Cowboys memorabilia
was
to
a
an
young
Eagles
kid,
game.
didn't know
Yeah,
nothing, and I would
yeah. Don't
never
do
do it
that.
again. All right,
Don't
so
do that.
I'm gonna hit you up.
Yeah,
We'll be
don't do
back
that
on
here, man.
here, and we got
Yeah.
bear stories to tell, bear stuff to go
Man,
through,
listen,
lots of stuff
story and
going on.
tell you, right? I found out it's a joke, but I looked pretty serious, right? It was a baby trapped in a car here in
Damn.
Philly, right? And they're
Well,
like, yo,
they didn't let it out
somebody
because it's a
left this.
Cowboys
Yeah,
jersey.
they're like somebody left this fucking baby. It's like, yo, that baby's wearing a cowboy jersey. They're like, fuck that baby.
No.
Funny as
Next
hell,
time I come
man.
to Philly, it would be deep. Don't worry,
Yeah,
we're in Cowboy
don't
shit no
yeah,
matter
you
what.
better be, man. You better be.
All right, yo,
All
I'll
right,
link
man.
you. We'll be on again. All right.
Yep.
All
Peace.
right.
Appreciate
Easy,
y'all.
homie.
Talk to y'all soon, man.
Are you hungry for more NFL draft content? Like, subscribe, and follow our YouTube channel.